Hello there, Gentleman Joe coming at you with a video on the truck. Today, we're going to be taking the dash apart. If the quality's a little weird, this is because it's the first vlog I'm really doing with my iPhone. We're trying to see how this goes. It might be easier than using my 80D and 90D. So anyways, we have to take this entire dashboard out. So I figured I would try and do a step-by-step process. I haven't seen many videos like this on the YouTube, and we're going to be using a guide I found on the Silverado forum, I believe, Chevrolet forum maybe. I'll put a link in the description. So without further ado, let's get started. Because the entire electrical system is tied into the airbags, first thing you want to do is disconnect your battery if you got like a gasser, or both batteries if you've got a diesel. So I'm gonna disconnect this one and we'll go from there. So here are the instructions. They came from Chevrolet forum. Time 7 to 8 hours. This was quoted to be a $2,500 job, which is why I'm doing it myself. I don't want to spend that kind of money. What we're replacing is the AC evaporator, which is in here. There's a lot of hack job tutorials on YouTube on how to take this out, cut it out with a Dremel, all that. We're not doing any of that. We're not going to hack this together. This entire thing has to come out to get to this. Now this piece, the evaporator, cuts through the firewall. Right down there. And goes into this piece here, which is the AC dryer, follows the system, eventually ends up in the compressor. I know my compressor is good, that engages. My feed line, my fill line here is bad, so this is also being replaced as well. Unfortunately, my aftermarket fuse box may have to come out for a little bit of this, but oh well. We'll start with step one, remove the dash cover. That's as simple as coming in the corner with a screwdriver and just prying up. Slides out like that. Next, we have to remove the side panels. And then we're gonna go after each Phillips. So here, here, there, and this tab up here is for this, which we'll have to take out eventually. So I'm gonna go take the other side off. There, and then there. I'll probably clean these wires up too while it's all apart. So I'm gonna try and keep everything together. Documenting this is nice as well. But what I'll probably do is get like a red Solo cup and just mark where each screw came from. That way I don't lose anything. Well, that's done. I'm going to start on these. I should say, before you get this far, you want to evacuate your system. That way all the gunk gets out of your air conditioning system. So then when you put all your new parts in, you're not just refilling it with trash. So it's literally a button that you push down and then you just lift up. Next, we got to remove the A-pillar. I think it's the A-pillar. You'll want to be careful of your paint underneath. Use a rag or something. But basically, once you have it all clipped out, you can muscle it out by moving it back. If you're like me and drive a diesel, you'll need to disconnect your gauges. Sometimes easier said than done. I didn't wire these too great when I first started this build, so they're a little ugly. Next, they want us to pry off the dash cover, so take the steering wheel, drop it as low as possible, drop that, and then this should just pull off. Now I have my accessory switches here, so I'm gonna have to be careful with removing those. Yeah. And that can hang out with its friends. Next, it tells us to remove the bolts, screws, whatever you want to call them, on the dash cover. They are 7mm. Okay. Now, it says to remove the dash cover, but I still feel some resistance somewhere, so I probably didn't get all of them. Or it's just really that stiff. This stuff all feels like it's good to go. This side doesn't. So when they say dash cover, I think they mean this as well. So there's a screw here, 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 and then a bunch all underneath this. Boom, boom, boom. To get this to come off completely, there's this little knob here, and you just lift up on it. It's just a small piece of rubber. So I'm gonna close this, take these out. So this literally is just clipped in. Just want to give it a good tug. Mine's old and fairly rusty, so these clips get stuck. It's just an old truck, it's the way she goes. So if you're like me and you have the center console, this is going to get in the way of this. So what you want to do is grab it from the bottom, kind of rip it out. Kind of just have to jimmy it out, but you can get it. So there's clips all the way up and around. You want to come up and you want to pry on them. And now she should be good to come out. Next, we want to disconnect the ambient light sensor, which I believe I just broke. And to do that, all you do is twist and pop her through. And this is good to come out. So next, we got to remove the vent registry bolt, passenger airbag switch, which for me is a cubby. Next, you want to remove the column key. I put the vent registry bolts in here. This just pulled straight out, and we gotta take the whole steering column apart. There's a bunch of screws in here usually. Mine are already missing, I think because of the previous owner. So to remove the airbag, we want to hit this hole here. And there's a pin that's going to unlock the airbag. And there's another one on this side as well. Up in there. And there we have the airbag removed. And we need to disconnect these wires. Done. Apparently this has to be stored facing up. That's where we'll keep it. I guess the horn wire is next. let's get these control wires gone. Very hard to do with one hand. There we go. Next is the horn wire. So to release this, we push in. And spin. Hard to see, I know. And that takes the horn wire out. And all we have to do is get this nut off and the wheel comes off. You're going to want to pull hard and she'll come out. So the way this is supposed to come out, it's like a clamshell. Pry up here and there. This piece comes off and then this piece should just rip out. As you can see, in here is where it's supposed to kind of come in, notch in, and close. Next, this tells us to remove the center console. For this, it's just you just kind of pull it forward, but I have all these accessories. Of which I have to rip everything out. Oh no, my tune switch. That's gonna be annoying, so I have to remove that. That's a pain. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all these bolts out, take this out. So now that that's been removed, we'll take the radio out next. So the center console's out. Next, they want us to take the cluster out, which is relatively easy. Bolt here, there, 4 bolts. Comes right out. Should be 1 plug on the back, although some of these years have 2 plugs. This just comes forward. And it pulls out. You pull it out by squeezing both these and it releases it. The next set of instructions isn't super duper clear. It says take out all electronics and like everything else. So we're gonna take the HVAC system out. And it tells us to remove the center console. I don't know how to do that without removing the seats. So I'm gonna remove this and we'll see what to do. So we took this out, disconnected this. This goes to the main harness and so does this. So that's all for my aftermarket radio, which clears this out. I think I'm gonna take this tray out next, and that should hopefully give me some room to get in here and try to get this out, because I'm pretty sure this needs to come out. I really don't want to take my seats out, but that might be the case. All right, so it's a new day and I need to take the seats out. So what I'm using is a 12 point, and it just barely fits on that reverse Torx. That's actually an E20 and an E14 in the back, but if you use the right 12 point, you can fit on it and take it out. I just put 1 terminal, I barely touched it to the battery and moved the seat back. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to put that battery terminal back on there real quick and move it all the way forward to finish getting the seat taken out. So back here, it's a 12.11, and this was really hard to get out. As you can see, it was pretty crusty, so I ended up actually using my gun on it. You can see the other one right there. There you have it. Now underneath here, there's this plug. We have to disconnect this. And in theory, it should come right out. So let's give that a shot and see if that works. So now the seats are out and everything's a damn mess. We gotta take this and disconnect it from the main harness. It should just have to lift up. And I think she can just come out now. So here we are. The interior of the truck is ripped apart. We took the radio out and we did have to take the center console out. There's no way of replacing this evaporator, leaving the interior in, unless you do the hack job maneuver of cutting this with a Dremel. I didn't want to do that. So yeah. It's crazy. So what we need to do next is disconnect this, and down here as well has these aftermarket wires. So there's an orange sleeve here. Hold on a second. So this orange sleeve pulls out from the bottom there. Okay. Airbag is now disconnected. And I guess there's 4 10mm bolts on the back. Well, nuts rather. Yeah. So there's, you can feel one back there. Next, we want to take out the Onstar communications module right here. 3 bolts, one there, and one there. You do need to get it from the other side though. Can be a little bit tricky. So I disconnected the module, but it's hitting this pipe here, this vent. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these bolts out there, up there, and there's one right there. And then I believe there's 2 side bolts on the side here. Here, I'll get a look. I'll get a show of them. Those bolts there, those have to come out. And I think the whole thing's gonna come forward. I may have to take this off because there's a mounting bolt under that piece of plastic. But theoretically, she's gonna come free after this. Okay, so she's very loose now. I'm fairly certain the only thing holding it on is those side bolts, so we're gonna take those out next. Also need to take these 2 out with a 7 as well. But that really should be it. Okay, next we wanna take out these bolts here. There's one there, one there. Let me give it a tug and see if it moves. Yeah, so these are gonna have to come out as well. Next, we're gonna take out these 4 bolts underneath the steering column. That's where our current snag is right now. That's really preventing this from moving a heck of a lot more. So now we're gonna take out these bolts. It seems that this is the only spot where we're really snagging, so these here, these 2 7s, those are gonna come out. She's really loose now, so let's take the other side apart, see what happens. Here we go, last one. We're still getting some hang-ups here. I know we have to disconnect these, so we're gonna go ahead and do that now. So we have 4 screws up here, down there, down there. This comes off, and this is our final screw that I think we need to take out, but we will find out. So underneath the module, there's a mounting bracket, which is screwed in here. She's so loose. So this is very close to coming out. Do have to take this off. It's really on there good. Just basically. So this whole assembly just pulls out, and we have to disconnect it, and each switch is connected in a different way. Once again, remember these 2 back here, but we are so very close to being out. So I know I've been lacking on the instructions here, but this is really difficult to figure out. The Chevy forum instructions stopped being helpful as soon as they said remove center console. So we basically almost have it completely out at this point. We need to take the shifter off, so we need to come up here, get this Allen head. We need to take this control box out, which is not a super easy feat, but we're like right there. We need to come up here as well and unclip all of these from this runner here, because this whole thing is going to come out. And we also have to disconnect the antenna, which goes into like a foam insulated antenna line over here, which I can't, this thing. So yeah, this has gotten much more involved than it was. Right now our hang up is this. So I'm gonna take the shift knob off and we'll see where we are at next. So yeah, this got way more complicated with all this extra LT wiring. This is probably why you don't see people do this that often. So basically you need to go through and disconnect all these. This is my last one and it should come out. She should come out now. So here we have the entire dashboard out. This was not an easy job. So now we're in the last part of this. We have to unclip basically the whole wiring harness off this crash bar here. So basically you just gotta feel around the harness, kind of see where everything is, where it's all clipped in, and then you disconnect it. This has just one bolt left on this side, and then these two, and theoretically, this crash bar should come off. So next we want to take this cover off. It's this bolt here. One right there. And then one up there. It should only be 3, I think. We're going in completely blind from here on out because the instructions they just don't go any further. And because we have to take the heater core apart, we have to drain the coolant, which is right up here. So we're up here in the engine now. Took the intake horn off, and we got to take these 2 coolant hoses off and these connectors back here. Apparently there's a special tool for it, but with all the stuff out of the way, I might be able to do this without taking my fuse box off. You can see that bolt there, and there's a pesky one right there. You can see underneath that fiberglass. There might be one directly behind the turbo, but I'm not exactly sure about that. Either way, this is gonna be a real itchy job because we have to go through all this fiberglass. We have to take this off too. So I'll probably start with the easy stuff, take these tubes off, take that off. There's no way I can film this, so you're just gonna have to find the right holes and take them out because it's gonna be a little too difficult to get the right angle for you. So to take off these end couplers, you need to get one of these disconnect tools. And what this does is this goes on the back of the connector. And pushes these inner tabs down. It makes it so you can pull it over the little nipple on the end there. So there's a few stud type that need to come out as well. So there's one directly behind the cooler, one behind the battery over there, and then I think there's about 2 or 3 of this type, which will need like a wrench to get on there. I believe they're all 10s. There's one over here somewhere. I think it's, yeah, up here. So I believe they're all 10s. I believe I have found the last one. It's way down there underneath the dryer. But as you can see, this is very it's ready to come out. All right, so the light at the end of the tunnel is here. We just got to take this cabling off the track, move this out of the way, and I think she's good to go. I'm sure if you're gonna attempt this little guy, this temperature sensor, he's gonna trick you up. So just be mindful of this. The latch for it is on the bottom. Whoever put this here is possibly my least favorite person in the world right now, if I'm being honest. You want to know what this step was called on the Chevrolet forum post? This whole step was called remove the HVAC box. So I just I find it so funny that the instructions were very detailed to begin with, and then they very quickly went downhill. It's exactly what happened to me, though. I started off with all piss and vinegar for this project, and then got about halfway through it and said, wow, this is a pain in the ass. And then on top of that, I kept finding more and more things to deal with during this whole process. So it just became even more of a WTF situation. But fortunately, we're basically done for now. Seeing as this thing's out, I really only planned on doing the evaporator, which is right here. So all we have to do is we'll deal with that later. But because this is out, I'm gonna do the heater core as well. It's almost a decade-old truck. It's a 7-year-old truck. Figured it's probably gonna go sooner rather than later. Might as well take care of it while it's all apart. So future Joe here. I'm currently in the room that my interior was sitting in during this project. Unfortunately, my phone was full by the time I decided to record the splitting of the HVAC module box. So all the footage I had of me testing the blend door actuators and splitting the box and actually replacing the heater core and evap core is all gone. I didn't necessarily figure that out until I sat down to do this. This project is why I've been so absent on YouTube lately. So if you've watched this far, you obviously needed help with this project, and I'm gonna verbally tell you what to do. You have about 4 blend door actuators on the HVAC box. I believe there's 732 socket or 7/16, and you want to take those off. You want to double check your driver blend door actuator and make sure the gearing on that is connecting. That's why I was only getting hot air, because that actuator is the one that's different, and it's got this large gear mechanism with it. You're gonna have to play around with it and figure it out. That's what I had to do. There was no real easy way to describe or even to show you how that works. It's like a big gear and then a smaller arm type gear, and they kind of work in tandem. Once the regular gear lets go, then the arm takes care of the rest of the movement for that actuator. It's a very bizarre system, but if you're mechanically inclined enough to rip out your interior and get the HVAC module out, then I have confidence that you can figure that mechanism out. So you also want to keep that 7/16 to 732 socket handy, and you want to take the 4 bolts on top of the heater core out, and you want to take the 4 screws that are on top of the fan. There's like a fan shroud. You want to take that off. You want to take the fan out. If the fan you can get out with the HVAC module box in the truck, you just spin it counterclockwise and it pops out, and I believe there's one power cable connected to it, so you don't have to worry too much about that going bad and replacing it right away. And like I stated at the beginning of the video, I was only going to do the AC evaporator because I thought, once you got to a certain point you could replace that. I didn't know the whole truck had to come apart. I definitely bit off more than I could chew, but either way, I fixed it and I figured it out. Once you take that shroud off, and once you take the heater core service cover off, you want to take a drill, and you're going to notice around the whole HVAC box, there's these little plastic pinch welds. You want to drill each and every single one of those out and then slowly pry on it. There is one blend door, I believe it's on the passenger side or directly in the center. It's a long metal arm that goes from the bottom to the top. You're going to have to disconnect that. But once you do that, you should be able to pry the whole box apart. Once you're inside the box, you can take out both the heater core and the AC evaporator core. Once those are out, you're going to want to reuse or replace the foam insulators that go on those cores, because you don't want those cores to rattle around in there against the plastic and break. That would be very bad. Once you do that, you put the box back together. Use a few self-tappers where it kind of makes sense. There's areas around the whole HVAC module box where you can see that there's like I want to say like a plastic peg about this diameter, and just send a couple self-tappers up in there to keep it resealed. And then you reverse all these instructions. You put the HVAC module back in, you replace all the firewall screws. There's about 7 of them, a few stud tight, and then a few just regular bolts. You want to put the dryer back on. You want to put your high-end line back on. You want to put your heater core hose clips on, and you want to tighten those. There's one thing I forgot. I put those hoses on real late at night, and I forgot to tighten my Sinister Diesel heater core hose. So that really screwed me. I lost all my coolant and had to limp home. So make sure you do that. And then, just put the dash back together, get your AC recharged, and you should be good to go. You'll want to recalibrate your HVAC module. There's a million videos on how to do that. This video is already long enough, so I'm not going to cover how to do that. Some kind of button combo. I did it previously and it didn't seem to keep, so I think I even need a new like HVAC controller, so that's part of my issue as well. So I'm going to try to fix that myself if I can, because they're like $300-400 on eBay, and I don't want to spend that on just a HVAC controller. This is the correct way to take out your HVAC module box and replace your AC evaporator and heater core on a 99 to 07 classic Silverado. There's going to be a part 2 to this video. It's going to be about replacing the carpet and replacing the headliner as well. I did that because I noticed that there was a leak inside the truck. The carpet was relatively wet, and I also wanted to reroute all my aftermarket cabling and make it way better and much cleaner installed than it was before, which I had also done during putting this back together. So make sure you stay tuned for part 2. That's a little bit more of like a customization type video rather than a DIY repair video. And then I'll probably do a part 3 and just give a quick overview video explaining to everyone what I did and kind of how I did it. And that way, if you don't want to watch a 35-40 minute install video on how to fix your AC, you don't have to, and you can kind of keep up with the truck vlogs. So if you use this video to fix your AC or heater core, that's why I did this, because it's tough. It's a tough job, and I didn't really see anything out there that was legit. I saw a bunch of hack your dashboard apart with an angle grinder and glue it back together fixes, and I didn't really care for that. I wanted to do it the right way. One last piece of advice I'd give for you is, I guess in the year 2004, Chevrolet decided to get rid of the cabin air filter. So when I took my HVAC module box apart, what I noticed was there was a giant pile of acorns and pine needles inside my evaporator, which is why it failed. Fram does have a filter, like an add-in filter and filter door, that you can basically install into your HVAC module. And it should potentially keep it, you know, it's gonna add a cabin air filter to your HVAC system, which is something you would want anyways. You know, why would you want to smell not fresh air in your vehicle? You know, especially if you're gonna spend a lot of time in it. So it's because of that my AC failed. I saw the debris and the damage to it, problem solved, and I figured it out. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you out. I know something like this would have definitely helped me out during this project. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll try to help you out as best as I can. This is my way of helping the community and supplementing that Chevrolet forum article that kind of gave up and said remove HVAC module, you know. So I hope you stay tuned for more truck vlog videos, DIYs, and like repair vlogs and stuff like that. And hope to see you in the next one. Thanks.